My daughter Sarah called me a useless old fool as she rifled through my desk drawers, searching for my will. But in 72 hours, she'd discover that this old fool had been 3 steps ahead of her the entire time. Before we continue, please subscribe to hear more stories of justice served cold. I never thought I'd be telling this story. Even now, sitting in my new apartment overlooking the Pacific Ocean, I sometimes wonder if I could have done things differently. But then I remember the look on Sarah's face when she opened that safe, and I know I made the right choice.
My name is Richard, and I'm 68 years old. For 42 years, I built a construction company from nothing into a multi-million-dollar enterprise. My wife Helen and I started with 1 truck and a handful of tools. By the time she passed 3 years ago, we had 60 employees and contracts across the state.
Helen's death hit me hard. We'd been together since high school, built our life brick by brick. Sarah was our only child, born after years of trying. Maybe that's why we spoiled her. Maybe that's why she turned out the way she did. After Helen died, Sarah started coming around more often. At first, I was grateful. The house felt empty, and her visits brought life back into those quiet rooms. She'd bring her husband Mark and their kids, Tommy and Emma. Sunday dinners became our tradition again.
"Dad, you shouldn't be alone in this big house," Sarah would say, cutting my steak for me like I was some invalid. "Maybe it's time to think about somewhere smaller, safer." I was grieving, not senile, but I appreciated what I thought was concern.
The betrayal started small. Sarah began asking about finances during dessert. "Just making sure everything's in order, Dad. You know how complicated these things can be."
I'd built a company from scratch. I think I could handle my own finances. Then came the suggestions about power of attorney. Just in case, Dad, God forbid, something happens.
The turning point came 6 months ago. I'd gone to bed early with a headache, but couldn't sleep. Around 10 p.m., I heard voices downstairs. Sarah and Mark were in my study. I crept to the top of the stairs, my military training from 50 years ago still serving me well. "The old fool has at least $2 million in liquid assets," Sarah was saying. "Plus the house, the company, the investment properties. How much longer do we have to play this game?" Mark's voice was impatient. Every Sunday, pretending to care about his boring stories. "Not much longer. I've been talking to that lawyer, Brennan. He says if we can prove cognitive decline, we can get conservatorship. Then it's just a matter of moving him into Pine Grove." "Pine Grove, that dump?" "It's cheap. We need to preserve the assets, not waste them on luxury care." I stood there, my hand gripping the banister so hard, my knuckles went white. This was my daughter, the little girl I'd taught to ride a bike, who I'd walked down the aisle, who I'd given everything to. "What about the will?" Mark asked. "I've been looking for it. He's hidden it somewhere. But Brennan says if we have conservatorship, we can make financial decisions regardless. The kids are getting expensive. Emma needs braces. Tommy wants that gaming computer."
"They'll have everything they want once we have access to his accounts. That old fool owes us after all these years of playing perfect daughter." I made my way back to bed, my mind racing. The next morning, I made coffee as usual. Strong, black, no sugar. Sarah and Mark had left late. probably congratulating themselves on their clever plan. I sat at my kitchen table watching the sunrise through the window Helen had insisted on installing 20 years ago.
I had two choices: confront them directly or beat them at their own game. The father in me wanted to sit Sarah down, ask her why, try to salvage something. But the businessman in me knew better. When someone shows you who they really are, believe them. I spent that day documenting everything. I installed security cameras in my study, small ones that look like smoke detectors. I hired a private investigator named Janet Morrison, recommended by my company's security firm. I met with my real lawyer, Robert Chen, who'd handled my affairs for 20 years. "Richard, I'm sorry you're going through this," Robert said, reviewing the information I'd gathered. "But you're not the first client to face this situation." "What are my options?" "Several. But first, we need to protect your assets immediately." Over the next weeks, I played my part perfectly. When Sarah visited, I'd occasionally forget things. Nothing major, just enough to make her think her plan was working. I'd fumble with my pills, ask the same question twice. I watched her exchange gleeful glances with Mark. Meanwhile, I was busy. I liquidated certain assets, moving money into trusts Sarah didn't know existed. I updated my will with very specific language. I gathered every document showing the money I'd given Sarah over the years, the house down payment, the car purchases, the private school tuition for the grandchildren, the bailouts when Mark's business ventures failed. The total came to $847,000. Janet, my investigator, discovered interesting things about Mark: 3 failed businesses, 2 bankruptcies, and currently unemployed for 8 months. They were living entirely off credit cards and my monthly gifts. She also found the lawyer Brennan, a bottom feeder who specialized in elder abuse through legal channels. The security cameras in my study proved invaluable. I captured Sarah going through my papers, photographing financial documents, even trying to crack my safe. The safe where I kept my will, or where she thought I kept it. Thursday evening, 3 weeks after I'd overheard their plan, Sarah called. "Dad, we need to talk about your future. Mark and I have been worried about you." "Of course, sweetheart. Come for dinner Sunday. Bring the kids." That gave me 3 days to finalize everything. Friday morning, I met with Robert to sign the final documents. He'd created an ironclad trust that would protect my assets and ensure my true wishes were carried out. I also signed a cognitive evaluation from Dr. Patricia Hernandez, a renowned neurologist who confirmed I was of completely sound mind. "Are you sure about the distribution?" Robert asked.
Absolutely certain.
Saturday, I made my preparations. I placed a copy of my old will, the one leaving everything to Sarah, in my study safe. But I made some modifications first. I also prepared individual envelopes for Tommy and Emma, my grandchildren. They were innocent in this. Sunday arrived grey and drizzling. Fitting weather for what was to come. Sarah and her family arrived at 5 p.m. sharp, carrying a grocery bag. "I brought dinner, Dad," Sarah said, kissing my cheek. "You just relax." I watched her prepare Helen's famous pot roast using my wife's recipe card. The irony wasn't lost on me. She was literally cooking in the kitchen of the house she planned to steal. During dinner, Sarah kept exchanging glances with Mark. Finally, over dessert, she cleared her throat.
Dad, we need to discuss something important. Oh? I took a sip of coffee, noting how my hand trembled slightly. Nice touch, I thought.
We're worried about you. You've been forgetting things, seeming confused. We think it might be time to consider alternative living arrangements.
Alternative?
Mark leaned forward. Somewhere with people who can help you, Richard. Medical professionals.
Pine Grove has excellent facilities, Sarah added quickly. We've toured it.
I bet you have. I don't understand, I said, letting my voice waver. This is my home.
Dad, be reasonable. This house is too big for you. And managing your finances, it's becoming too much. We want to help. How? Sarah pulled out a folder. We've spoken with a lawyer. If you sign these papers, we can help manage things for you. Make sure you're taken care of.
I looked at the conservatorship papers. Brennan's name was at the top. I need to think about this, I said. Dad, the longer we wait...
I said I need to think. I stood up, swaying slightly. I'm tired. I think I'll go to bed. It's only 7 p.m., Tommy said, looking up from his phone for the first time all evening.
Let Grandpa rest, Sarah said sweetly, or we'll clean up. I went upstairs but didn't sleep. I listened as they cleaned, then heard them go into my study. The cameras would capture everything. An hour later, Sarah knocked on my door. Dad, we're leaving now. Think about what we discussed. We only want what's best for you. Of course, sweetheart. Drive safely.
Monday morning, I called Sarah. I've thought about your proposal. Could you and Mark come by this evening? We should discuss this properly. Of course, Dad. I'm so glad you're being reasonable.
I spent the day making final preparations. I packed the belongings I wanted to keep, arranged for a moving company, and confirmed my new apartment was ready. At 4 p.m., Robert arrived with 2 witnesses. Everything's set, he confirmed. Are you ready for this?
I've been ready since I heard them planning to throw me in a cut-rate nursing home. Sarah and Mark arrived at 6 p.m., practically vibrating with excitement. They probably thought they were hours away from accessing my millions.
Come into the study, I said. I have something to show you. We sat in the leather chairs Helen had bought me for my 60th birthday. Sarah eyed the safe behind my desk. I've made a decision, I began. But first, I want to show you something. I turned on my computer and pulled up the security footage. Sarah's face went white as she watched herself rifling through my desk, trying to break into my safe.
Dad, I can explain. No need. I clicked to another file, the audio recording of her conversation with Mark about putting me in Pine Grove, calling me an old fool.
Mark started to stand. We're leaving.
Sit down. My voice was steel. We're not done. I pulled out a thick folder. Let's review what I've given you over the years, Sarah. House down payment, $200,000, Private school for the kids, $180,000. Mark's failed restaurant, $150,000. Mark's failed consulting firm, $100,000. The Mercedes, $80,000. Various other gifts and bailouts, $137,000. Total, $847,000.
You kept track? Sarah's voice was small. I'm a businessman. I keep track of everything. I pulled out another document. This is a cognitive evaluation from Dr. Hernandez, conducted last week. I'm of completely sound mind. Your friend Brennan's conservatorship plan won't work. Dad, please.
I'm not finished. I stood and walked to the safe. You wanted to see my will so badly? Here it is.
I opened the safe with theatrical flair. Sarah leaned forward eagerly. Inside was a single envelope with her name on it. She grabbed it, tearing it open. Her face went from triumph to confusion to horror as she read, "Last Will and Testament of Richard Morrison. I leave my entire estate to the Helen Morrison Memorial Foundation, a charitable trust established to provide scholarships for underprivileged students. To my daughter, Sarah Mitchell, I leave the sum of $1, as she has already received her inheritance in life. The $847,000 in gifts provided over the years shall be considered her full portion."
"This can't be legal," Mark shouted. "Oh, it's legal. Robert Chen made sure of that." I pulled out another folder. "These are the trust documents, irrevocable. The house will be sold, the company will be sold, all assets liquidated and placed in the foundation. You can't touch a penny." Sarah was crying now. "Dad, I'm your daughter, your only child."
"Yes, you are, which makes your betrayal even worse." I handed her another envelope. "This is a bill for the $847,000. I'm calling in all the loans. You have 90 days to pay."
"We can't possibly."
"Then I suggest you speak with a bankruptcy attorney. I have one more thing to show you." I turned the computer screen toward them. It showed an email from Brennan confirming their appointment to discuss the conservatorship matter regarding Richard Morrison. "I've forwarded this, along with all the security footage and recordings, to the State Bar Association. I believe Mr. Brennan will be facing an ethics investigation." Mark grabbed Sarah's arm. "We're leaving." "One more thing," I said, pulling out two smaller envelopes. "These are for Tommy and Emma. College fund trusts, $100,000 each. They can access them at age 25, provided they have no contact with either of you regarding my estate."
Sarah's face twisted. "You're turning my children against me."
"No, I'm protecting them from becoming like you." I walked to the door and opened it. "Goodbye, Sarah. Don't come back." "You'll die alone," she screamed as Mark dragged her out. "You'll have no one." "I'd rather die alone than surrounded by vultures." After they left, I sat in my study with a fresh cup of coffee. The silence was peaceful this time, not empty. I thought about Helen, what she would say. She always saw the best in people, but she also believed in consequences. The next morning, I met the movers. By noon, I was in my new apartment, smaller, yes, but with an ocean view Helen would have loved. The house would be sold within the month, the proceeds going to the foundation. Sarah tried calling repeatedly. I blocked her number. Mark sent threatening emails until Robert sent a cease and desist letter. They tried contesting the will, but the trust structure was bulletproof. The best part came 3 months later. Janet, my investigator, sent me a newspaper clipping. Brennan had been disbarred for ethics violations related to elder abuse schemes. The article mentioned he was cooperating with authorities about other similar cases. It's been a year now. The foundation has provided scholarships to 12 students. I volunteer at the local community college, teaching business classes. I've made friends with my neighbors, people who value me for who I am, not what I have. Tommy reached out last month. He's 17 now, applying to colleges. He apologized for his parents and said he understood why I did what I did. I told him about his trust fund, how it would be waiting for him. "I don't want their money, Grandpa," he said. "I want to earn my own way."
The money isn't from them, I told him. It's from your grandmother and me. Use it wisely.
Sometimes I wonder if I was too harsh. Then I remember the footage of Sarah trying to break into my safe, the casual cruelty in her voice when she called me an old fool. I remember her plan to warehouse me in the cheapest facility she could find while she spent my life's work. I built my company with my own hands, brick by brick, alongside the woman I loved. I'll be damned if I'll let anyone, even my own daughter, tear it down out of greed. The ocean is particularly beautiful today. I'm having dinner with my neighbor, Eleanor, and her daughter, who's visiting from Seattle. Real relationships built on mutual respect rather than manipulation. Sarah was wrong about me dying alone. I'm surrounded by people who care about me, not my bank account. The foundation will help young people build their dreams the way Helen and I built ours. Sometimes the best revenge isn't elaborate or cruel. Sometimes it's simply refusing to be a victim, protecting what you've built, and finding peace in knowing you did the right thing.
My coffee's getting cold. Time to make a fresh cup and start my day. After all, at 68, I've got plenty of life left to live, and I plan to live it on my own terms. If you enjoyed this story of justice served, please like and subscribe. Tomorrow I'll share the story of how a grandmother discovered her daughter-in-law's shocking secret. You won't want to miss it.